Hi, thanks for watching. My name is Chad, and my wife and I are building out a homestead down here in Fort Garland, Colorado, just kicking off the build season here in 2024. Now, if you're wondering why my audio is out of sync with the video here, it's because I had to re-record this as a voiceover, and the reason is I was experimenting with a lavalier mic, which you can see pinned to me here, but the problem is it was just not doing a good enough job to cut out the wind noise. We had high wind warnings in effect this weekend when I came out, and the microphone was just not doing a good enough job, so the audio was pretty horrible. So please bear with me if I look a little bit out of sync from the video. Now, this should really be about video number 7. We have been out here working all last year, doing a lot of work, as you can see behind me. We've got a house platform already in progress. We've got the driveway cut out and a whole bunch of other things in progress. The problem is that a lot of this work took heavy equipment, things like excavators and skid steers and things like that. And if you can see things like the driveway, they're quite wide. I mean, we're going to be bringing campers and other things through here. We've got our cistern installed, as you can see I'm pointing out behind me. And the problem was that to get all of this stuff installed, we were really renting equipment and always up against the wall on time. You know, a lot of equipment rental places, you've got to get the equipment back by the time the place closes, usually 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the latest. And we were always racing the clock last year. So every trip out here was just sort of an exercise in rushing to get something done like this house platform, get the piers put in to support it, and then get the equipment returned so that we didn't get another $400 or $500 a day bill. So what I'm doing is walking around the property right now. This is the very beginning of the build season here for us in 2024. And this year, because we'll be using a lot less equipment and it's more about the actual build out, I'm hoping to make much better videos so you can follow along with the progress. Now, this video is really meant for friends and family, but we're putting it up publicly on YouTube. Hopefully some others either get some amusement or benefit out of it. If you are a stranger to us, welcome and thanks for watching. Hopefully this isn't too boring. If you are friends or family, hope you enjoy seeing this build progress. What you're looking at behind me here is Mounts Lindsay and Blanca. Blanca Peak is the darker one way in the back. It's a little bit hard to see because it's kind of small, and Lindsay Peak is the closer one. Lindsay Peak looks taller, but is actually a few hundred feet shorter, but both of them are 14ers. We've got a number of 14ers here in Colorado, and we're fortunate enough on our property to be able to see 2 of them from this property. This is early April, and as you can see, there's still snow on the mountains, but down here over in the valley, most of the snow has cleared out, and we're in a better position to really get started with the building. Behind me, you can see we've got our driveway, and we worked last year to get all that put in. We hired a contractor to get the septic, driveway, and cistern installed, and then we started taking the project from there. This driveway is quite large, and that was on purpose. We have a 5th-wheel camper, and we wanted enough room to be able to turn it around here. And so we've cleared a lot of the land out as part of putting this driveway in, but not completely. You can see some sage and other things behind me here. And then back behind where I'm standing, you can see we've got a little bit of a camper pad cut out. So what's behind me here is all, just kind of sagebrush. We do have 5 acres of land, but only about half of it is really developable. We have 2 creeks that run down into the valley, and we're going to keep those pristine and probably not do too much with them. So we're really on the east side of the property here, close to the road, and as you can see, we've got a loop driveway that we've put in, and that's just, again, to make it easy for vehicles to turn around, and that works out really, really well. Our camper's 43 feet long, plus the length of the truck. We really just need space for that. As you can see, I'm talking here on a pretty nice day, but the day that I actually am recording this audio, it turned pretty nasty. So I wish I had done a little bit more building and a little less talking. But here behind me, we have a 1,700-gallon cistern, so we should have plenty of water at the property. We don't have any water turned on right now. This cistern has about 1,000 gallons in it, but it's shut down for the winter. It has a valve in it, and we can shut it off in the cistern to prevent water from going down to the house or to the campers. Now, we have a frost-free hydrant at the camper, and the water line is buried 4.5 feet down, so it's well below the frost line. But the house valve is not. It's coming up out of the ground, and it has some frost protection on it, but it's not fully installed, and so I have that shut down for the winter. So I'm dry camping here in the camper that you just saw behind me, behind my shoulder, and the purpose of this weekend is to build out the shed that we just saw, which I'll show more in a little bit. So really what we're what we're trying to do here is get the shed rebuilt first. Last year, we had sort of a cheap one of those $1,000 sheds that you can buy on Amazon, and that blew over in the winter. That is behind that truck. And I'll show a better view of this in a little bit here, but what I'm pointing at is a camper pad. We have utility services over there, so I've run septic up to there, as well as water and not electric, but conduit for electric, so that the house and the camper can have a power cable between them eventually to keep the camper charged. That's not set up right now, but the conduit's in place. You can see I've got some building materials back there, and then back behind the truck is where the shed is. So as I start walking down the hill here, I'll show you a couple of other pieces of the property, and we'll get a sense of it. But what I'm pointing at is that valley with those two creeks, and it's just kind of a nice visually appealing feature. Doesn't do a lot to block the wind, but it makes the whole area and the property a lot nicer. So again, it is 5 acres, but we're only going to be building on a small portion of it, the portion that's close to the road, and the rest we'll just keep natural and just enjoy it. I'm kind of rambling here, so I'm waiting in this voiceover for me to start walking through the tour. But just to give you a little background, we bought this property 4 or 5 years ago, and as you can see behind me, there's very low, kind of more grass and flowers. But behind some other areas, as I rotate around, you'll see a lot more sage. And that is because we had a 105,000 acre wildfire come through here, burned most of the property, as well as many other homeowners' properties. Fortunately, we didn't have any buildings on it, but it was one of the largest fires in Colorado, called the Spring Creek Fire. And ironically, it came right up the middle of our property. Our property is one of the fire lines where they stopped it. So depending on which way I look, you'll see sage, and in other directions, you'll see nothing but grass. And that's because the sage was like tinder, and it burned up pretty quickly. Now behind me you can see we've got our truck camper here. I am dry camping just using this, which is really more my hunt camper, just to have some place to hang my hat while I get the shed rebuilt. The place where the shed is there, the shed is actually blown down to the valley, and I need to go still get it removed. But it was one of those cheap $1,000 Amazon sheds, and I'll tell you, it was rated for 60-mile-an-hour winds. I didn't have the weather station online at the time, but looking at the reports, I think it was about a 45-mile-an-hour gust that took it. So what we're doing is building a new shed here. You can see that I've got it mostly framed out, and I've started working on the roof. If it looks a little crooked, that's on purpose. It is a salt box style shed. So one half of the roof is an 8/12 pitch, and the other half is a 5/12, and that's why the front looks a little steeper than the back. That's just a visual effect. There's no real reason for it, but we sort of looked at gift horse in the mouth here and said, well, if the old shed blew over and we're not going to be able to use it, if we're going to build a new one, why not practice all the techniques and the framing for the house? And so the house will have a salt box style. Therefore, we've decided to make the shed match it. So what I'm building out here with the shed, even though there's really no purpose for it, is just to add some visual appeal and make it match the house, but also practice. This is my first major DIY construction project. I'm a DIY person. I really enjoy this kind of thing, but it's obviously the first time I've done this kind of thing. So, it's an opportunity to make mistakes on something where it doesn't really matter. Nothing in the shed is really all that structural. When we get into the house, which is behind me here, that's where everything's really going to matter. Now, if you look at me with the house, that is the platform. We put that in last year. We are doing post and pier, so the bottom will just be kind of a sealed off crawl space. Eventually we'll put some trim around it to seal it in, but just post and pier, no foundation. And the reason was that we're very constrained on budget. And we were quoted, I think, $35,000 for just a basic foundation, and $40,000 plus for a more sophisticated one with a full basement. This is a remote rural area. It costs a lot to get things trucked in here, and so that just really didn't meet our budget. Post and pier is an easy DIY install, which I say kind of tongue-in-cheek because it was the single most difficult, I think, part of the project. But I managed to get it done. There are 27 piers holding that up. I did engineer that. This is a little overkill. It really only needed 21. But I kind of, I didn't really want to be at maximum spans or anything like that. I'm using all traditional construction techniques and lumber. And so I didn't want to push the boundary on anything there. Again, limited budget. What I'm pointing at down here is the septic field. You can just barely see some of the vents for it peeking out. That is the bottom edge of the property. Well, not quite the bottom edge. It's set in about 40 or 50 feet. I can't remember how far, but quite a bit. That's the leach field and the septic. And then what I'm pointing at here is a patio area. This will be an area that we can entertain. We'll have a sliding glass door with some stairs coming down a set of decks over on that side of the house. So it's a very beautiful property. As you can see behind me, you have a really nice valley. And then as I rotate around, you've got the nice view of the mountains. And back behind where I'm standing, where I'm kind of pointing, is the Great Sand Dunes National Park. So we're actually only 40 minutes from that, and it's kind of a cool feature to be that close to something that neat. So really, as we go through this video here, I'm just going to, show a few other items that may be of interest, and then I'll wrap this up and try to get a better recording next time. But really, I will be adding some drone footage once I get some time, and also, maybe some visuals or some diagrams of the house or anything along those lines, and we'll see kind of where that leaves us. Now, behind me, what I'm kind of pointing at is that, I've got the camper and we're staying in the camper. We've got some solar on the property, but this is all off-grid, so there are no utilities here, and we'll be doing a pretty big solar setup. But it also constrains the build time. So for right now, it's hard to do a lot of significant lighting. I've got a generator, and we run it quite a bit, but, you run a generator too much and you'll destroy it. I mean, they're really meant for occasional use, not necessarily, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, 7 months of a build, it'll eat itself, at least for the low end one that I have. So I am trying to work within these build constraints. I'm trying to build, Friday evenings after work through Sundays. Most of the time, just really a weekend project. And just trying to get that done. Now, this weekend, as you can see, I've got the framing for the shed done, and what I'm really going to try to do is get the roof rafters installed. I just have the end rafters and the ridge up, just kind of with its temporary supports there, but I'll be getting the main rafters put up. They're just common rafters, nothing special, no dormers or anything strange here. But and then as you can see, we're kind of looking through the front door. That front door will face the house, so the door to the shed will be about a 5 or 6 foot wide, actually pair of 2.5 foot wide doors that are on sliders. Because of the high wind here, I don't want any hinges. Doors slam around and becomes kind of a hassle trying to walk around safely with them. So if you're seeing a lot of construction debris and the property does look like a dump, I apologize for that. But as I said, I closed up last year in kind of a hurry. We got closed in a little early from weather. These roads are all dirt roads, and although I've got four-wheel drive and good tires, it is a little challenging to get in if they get too muddy. So just to be safe, we kind of shut down around the end of October, early November. Really just kind of working around that. So I'm going to wrap up the video here. Thank you again for watching, and we hope you enjoy the progress that we make here this year. I'll be trying to post videos on about a weekly or maybe every other week basis, depending on the amount of time that I have, and also the amount of wind on the property. Wind is a big challenge here for doing things like drone flights or voiceovers and recording videos and things like that. So I'll do what I can, but in the meantime, just enjoy the progress and wish us luck. It's a big project, but we're looking forward to getting it completed, and we can't wait to show it off once it's done.